I did a lot of research when I was writing my thesis for my master's project. And one of the bits of research that we did, a group that I was involved with, we did a lot of research in observing um, classroom behavior of design students, undergrad design students. And we not only classroom behavior, but also repetitious behavior trends, as it were, in young beginning design students. And one of the things that we found over and over is that design students have this tendency to want to place things in boxes, and I'm seeing that everywhere in your presentation. And the hazard here is that you're not allowing said item or element that's in the box to breathe with the page. Okay, um, so in other words, this page right here, for example, this orange box right here, I mean, it's okay, but it's separating Abbott Miller from the page. I think you've done some really smart things with this page. Um, Placing the type right across from his eyes was very, very smart. I mean, that draws just a natural. First thing we're going to look at on any page, doesn't matter. We're humans. We're going to look at other humans. If there's a face on a page, we're right there, and we go right to the eyes. If the eyes are directional, designers can use that to move the viewer's eye through composition. And this is a perfect example of that. Eyes, head, headline. So that's good. This image has been stretched. Looks like it's been stretched horizontally to fit this area. And you don't want to do that in digital imaging, digital design. You never want to change the original constraint or the original proportions of any design element. So in other words, you want to constrain the original proportions. You don't want to change the X and Y proportions of any element after you place it on a page. You want to maintain the initial intent. The cover wouldn't be considered page one. The cover would be considered the cover. The next page, inside cover, you turn that, you got the hard inside cover if it's a hard copy, right? Then you have that facing page. That's always going to be number one, page one, which means your spreads are always going to start on page 2 and 3. And you're always, oh, you did. Okay, so one. Okay, I see what you did. Okay, so your cover, okay, yeah, so that works then. That works because your spreads are correct, page number wise. Okay, so I talked about those boxes before, and again, here we have it. Here's a box, here's a box, here's a box. Here's your type in a box. Here's more type in a box, and then everything else is placed in this box, which is framed by the box of the margin. Again, here's this box, and theoretically, okay, so then these aren't boxes, but they are containers. So basically, it's the same as a box. There's one, there's a container, here's a box, here's a container, here's a box, okay? And then more boxes, all these boxes. Here's a box around a series of boxes inside a box framed by a box, and so on and so forth. And what you need to do, or at least think about as a designer, is taking all of these things and freeing them from their boxes. Okay, this type should breathe with the composition. It shouldn't be locked up in this orange box. Okay, this type, you can't breathe. It's in jail. It can't breathe. It needs to get out of this orange jail and then out of this gray jail, and then it needs to have the freedom to interact with the infinity of the white space of the page, okay? And likewise, I don't think you have enough type in here for this to be a typographic project. I think that this page looks good. You're showing good intent here. The one thing I'm not seeing in any of your type whatsoever is any kind of attention to demarcating new paragraphs. It's really weird. That's too long for one paragraph. I mean, even though you've got good white space, empty space around, you've got it's pretty good typeset. I mean, your alignment's good, everything's good, but nobody wants to jump in there and start reading because there's no resting place. Okay, so I'm thinking this is too long of a paragraph, and I'm thinking as we look, you don't really have any kind of continuous type. For like a booklet, you just have a series of paragraphs. You see what I'm saying? And oh, okay, you're repeating. Wait a second. Oh, wait, maybe not. The approach, yeah, you're repeating type here. The approach allowed fluid, the approach allowed for fluid. That's a problem. That's why we're not seeing see, this assignment, you're supposed to have your text is all supposed to be text threaded, which means when you're done reading this paragraph, it would naturally go here and continue the story. And then it would go from here. And the way it would look in InDesign, it would be at the bottom of this text box here, there'll be a little plus there, and then there would be an arrow that would point to your next, that would go here. And then the end of this would point to the next box, and then this would point to the next box. And that's how you thread your type. And I don't see that here. Okay, so that is a little bit of an issue. And then we have, let me see, the only other thing I can mention is, again, we're not seeing, sorry to jump around like this, but it helps me to visualize. The page is pretty good 3-column grid. I'll give that to you. Nice. That's not jumping around at all. Excellent. Let me ask you a question. Let me see how you feel about this. What if we stripped everything from these pages and just kept the 3 type columns? Okay, on every page. That's your type. Every page has 3 type columns. That's how you set it up. Okay, no backgrounds, no nothing, just like that. Then you start to build your page around that. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's a viable technique in design, is laying your text down first and getting your layout, and then getting your layout solidified, and then start designing around that. Okay, so anyways, you're doing okay. I think you're using entirely too much image. There's not enough type here because we need to see things like, I mean, there's one pull quote, but you don't have any call outs, no sidebars. And this layout is just begging for sidebars, captions, pull quotes, call outs, drop caps. And that list I just named, as you know, because I've said this several times throughout the weeks, that's a list that's pointing directly to informational hierarchy, which points, of course, to typographic hierarchy. Okay, and that I think we're lacking tremendously in this piece. Okay, so anyways, if you have any questions, comments, or if I need to clarify anything whatsoever, please do not hesitate to ask. Okay, thanks, James.